Everyone, it's News 360 coming to you live from the News Hub here at Adesawe Kanda. I am Portia Gabor.
And I am Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Let's bring you the headlines for the next 1 hour.
News 360 Headlines is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint,
Pepsodent Charcoal and Pepsodent Herbal,
EcoBank.
Interior Minister reveals investigations into the 2020 and 2024 election violence show that the police and military were responsible for 7 deaths.
And also coming up tonight, police CID arraigned Esu-Tiffin North MP Ebenezer Kweku-Addo over alleged role in attack on Naimos tax force.
Later in the bulletin, lawyers for the NPP's Ashanti Regional Chairman Bernard Ntwibwe questioned the Attorney General's decision to drop charges against a Kunta mining official and use him as a key prosecution witness.
Coming up in business in about 30 minutes ahead of the 2026 budget presentation, an economist advises government to prioritize market access and improve infrastructure for the agri sector instead of granting tax reliefs.
On the international front, Tanzania's police lift nighttime curfew imposed on Dar es Salaam. We are live around the world on 3news.com. We always love to hear from you on the many stories we have for you tonight, so do send your messages in.
The news now in detail, and the police and military have been implicated in 7 of the 15 deaths recorded during the 2020 and 2024 election violence cases in parts of the country. The Interior Minister updated the public on the investigations into election-related violence revealed procedural actions were overlooked, legal requirements were violated, and there were instances of clear breaches of discipline.
Ghana's 2020 and 2024 elections, though largely peaceful, were nonetheless marred by isolated incidents of violence and confrontations between security personnel and civilians at some polling stations. Providing update on the status of investigations by the 13-member committee set up by the IGP on the instructions of the President, Interior Minister Muntaka Mubarak Mohammed noted, amongst others, some personnel of the security service misconducted themselves during those elections and were responsible for some of the deaths recorded.
The Special Investigation Task Force identified 12 cases that took place during the 2020 and 2024 general election. These cases had resulted in 15 deaths across the country, and well over 40 individuals got injured. Some procedural actions were overlooked. There were instances of clear breaches of discipline. The investigation established that 3 of the cases resulting in 4 deaths are traceable to the use of firearms by armed police patrol teams. Military personnel were also found to be responsible for 3 of the cases resulting in the death of 3 persons. Investigation further established that 4 of the cases, which resulted in 5 deaths, were recorded when party enthusiastic supporters resorted to the use of firearms against their opponent. The 2 other cases involved persons who were lynched during confrontation between supporters of the 2 major parties.
The investigation group is thus, amongst others, recommending that the use of military for crowd control ceases, as well as a controlled use of live ammunition from lethal weapons.
The use of firearms by security personnel was not done under the command of a senior officer who could have ensured that appropriate rules of engagement were observed. Security personnel, especially the police patrol teams at the collation center, fired indiscriminately, and in some cases, they directed fire at the escaping crowd. Police should receive orientation and desist from using lethal force in crowd control situations. The use of armed military personnel for crowd control duties accounted for the incident that led to the death of 1 person and injured 4 others. The use of military in crowd control activity should cease.
He added The ministry is working with security and investigative agencies to ensure the arrest and prosecution of all those involved in the violence during the 2020 and 2024 elections.
21 suspects have been identified through witness interview, scene visit, reconstruction of crime and crime scene, and forensic and ballistic examination of material of evidence relevant to the cases. 11 new dockets have been built on the cases. 4 of the identified suspects have been arrested and admitted to police inquiry bills to facilitate further investigation and to trace their accomplices. 5 other identified suspects have been remanded in prison custody. Warrants of arrest have been procured to facilitate the arrest of some of the identified suspects who are on the run.
Right, so we'll take you through some of the specifics of what exactly captured in the report that was read out by the Interior Minister. And in a jiffy, we'll talk to Dr. Victor Doke, who is a lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center. Doc, kindly hold on for us. We'll come to you in a jiffy, but I want to take our viewers through some of the key findings. So what the Interior Minister told the country follows what the president said during his campaign and after he won. He told the country that he would definitely ensure that investigations in the 2020 and 2024 elections are conducted. Perpetrators will be brought to book. So in all, in the 2 election cycles, 55 individuals were, injured or were caught up in the unfortunate incident. And out of that 55, 15 of them lost their lives. 40 have been injured. Some of them are still receiving treatment. And these are the main regions in terms of the breakdown that had the most issues or the most election-related violence or problems. So the Ashanti region, Bono East and Greater Accra. Mind you, the Ashanti and Greater Accra are the regions with the most populous voters. So naturally, if there are violence in those regions, you can actually understand that it is probably because of their numbers. Then you have the Northern, Bono, Savannah and Central following suit, all of them recording some election-related violence in the year, the 2 election cycles. These, many will know that every time we talk about elections, they are in there in terms of the negativities or the bad issues that are related to violence. So the hotspots are key constituencies. 15 injuries, 2 persons died in there. And then again, this is the Greater Accra region. Specifically, 3 people have died, 19 injured. In all, we have 22 casualties. The Bono East region, Techiman South, Nkuranza South, 3 people have died, 9 injured, 12 in total. Bono has 2 deaths, 3 persons injured, and then 5, if you put it together, that's 5 individuals who've been affected by election violence. Ashanti region is also in there, a total of 8 people. Out of that 8, 3 died, 5 were injured due to election-related violence. The Northern region, Savlugu and Tolong constituencies specifically, recorded 2 deaths, 3 persons injured, and then in total there are 5. Central region and the Savannah region make up the final list of constituencies. Fortunately, in the Savannah region, Damongo constituency, there were no injuries. However, 1 person died in that particular constituency. So it gives you an indication, the key findings captured in the report, and it's as a result of a political promise that the government, the current government of the day, made during their campaign promise. And we now have some clarity. It used to be shrouded in uncertainties, but based on these facts that the minister gave us, we have some level of certainty as to individuals and persons who were injured and then those that lost their lives as a result of that. The question is, why should it even be that you go out to vote and then on the back of that, someone should lose their life or even be injured? Let's engage Dr. Victor Doke now. He's a lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center. Doc, a very good evening to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Martin, for having me. Good day to you all.
Right. It's actually quite concerning that based on what the minister said, the police and the military are those that have been fingered as the causes of the death or injury. Now, the report also recommended that the police receive orientation and desist from using lethal force in crowd control situations. Is this even feasible if you are confronted with that kind of situation? Is that an advice you think the police can go by?
Well, thank you very much for having me. I think it is doable, but in our dispensation now, with how election-related issues have evolved, from the years, the stakes get high every time. It is very challenging for security personnel to adhere to the standard operation procedures with regards to crowd control. So anytime we realize injuries have happened or deaths have happened, is because probably the men on the ground may have seen the situation and per their understanding as at that point, the only language they can speak is to either fire live ammunition to disperse the crowd. And unfortunately, we have these deaths and injuries. But ideally, what can we do? It is doable with regards to the proper training, proper capacity building in handling the crowd. And then also, what do we use instead of live ammunition? Is there an alternative to that we should also look at? But holistically, I think when the report has recommended that there should be alternatives with regards to how the police should handle crowds, I think now the onus lies on the security heads, the security apparatus itself, to look at investment in that area, which comes with training, capacity building, equipment, operational equipment in that matter. You can look at having rubber bullets or tear gas or whatever in crowd control mechanisms instead of using live ammunitions.
The other concern some have raised following this report the minister gave out was that usually it is the citizens who have gone out to vote that actually start the confrontations. The police and the military, in fact, military usually come in after the police are overwhelmed, but they come in to try and stop or prevent these kinds of reports we are hearing. How come they are actually the ones being blamed for these deaths and not those that actually initiated the unfortunate issue? How do we situate this?
Two ways. Sensitization to the populace also. One, and how we should know how our limits ends. Voting ends at a particular time. At what time do we go to observe? If we are not satisfied with an issue on the voting grounds or whatever, which channels do we go to or which channels should we follow? These are things that we need to educate the populace, and the parties also have to come into this situation. Using the military, to support the activities of the police. Yes, in every dispensation it is done, but we know the training the military has, and we know the kind of force they apply when things are overwhelmed or they are overwhelmed with certain issues as crowd control. Then we don't expect that things will go otherwise. It is unfortunate, but how do we also look at sensitizing and educating the populace to respect the rule of law and not to sort of like initiate activities that would prompt these men in uniform to act in a way that would cause problems for us. So I think it's a two-way issue here. We should look at how we sensitize the people ourselves and how we do training for the men in uniform. And I think by that, there would be some consensus on how we engage when we know we have issues such as crowd control or events that should determine protection and look at that holistically.
Doc, pleasure talking to you as always. Thank you so much for your time. Dr. Victor Doke is a lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center. So this particular issue, in subsequent bulletins, we will try and break it down further and get to the heart of it in subsequent bulletins.
Let's now go to Parliament, where the Majority Leader has disclosed that the Member of Parliament for Asiedu-Dartey North has been interrogated by the Criminal Investigations Department and sent to court for his alleged involvement in the attack on operatives of the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat. He said this after the Speaker condemned the alleged attack and denied claims that Parliament is shielding lawmakers from scrutiny.
The report of attacks on a team from the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, a task force which we all know has been established to combat illegal mining activities in the country, is most worrying. Also worrying is the fact that the attack was allegedly incited by one of our own, the Member of Parliament for Asiedu North constituency. I am made to understand that the member has voluntarily submitted himself to the Criminal Investigation Department of Ghana Police to assist in the investigation, as many members have done in other cases. And so please, let it not be said anywhere that members of parliament are being shielded from the rule of law. Not at all.
Mr. Speaker, the matter you've just raised, Galamsey, is one thing that, for the want of a better word, I must say that we as political leaders, active stakeholders of this democracy, have failed. And I say so without mincing words. We must, as political actors, know that there are matters that we have to agree upon and nip it in the bud.
Mr. Speaker, let me indicate that yesterday I got a call from the Minister for the Interior, Honorable Muntaka, that the IGP needed the member for interrogation. And so this morning, he went with our Majority Chief Whip and his lawyer. They received him at CID headquarters, took him through the processes, and I received a call not quite long ago that he has been taken to court, and as we speak, he is actually in court being arraigned. And so let me also indicate that as members of parliament, we do not consider ourselves being above the law.
And on the back of the story we just brought to you, you heard the majority speaker talking about the fact that when the police asked that they needed the member of parliament, the speaker gave the order that he be taken to assist the police with investigation. So he was with the police assisting. Then a few minutes ago, the news we've just got is that the member of parliament for Asiedu North has been granted bail, and that's news just coming in to the tune of 150,000 Ghana cedis with one surety to be justified. So we'll update you on that on our website, on our socials, and also on Ghana Tonight. So do make a date. Let's take a step away from that to the office of the president, because His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has directed a forensic audit into the 13th All Africa Games following the submission of a report by the National Intelligence Bureau, the NIB, on the organization and management of the 13th All Africa Games. His Excellency President John Mahama has directed the Auditor General to undertake a comprehensive forensic audit of all financial and operational aspects of the Games. The Auditor General is expected to submit the report to the President by the second week of December 2025. And that's the latest coming from the Office of the President following a report submitted on that.
Let's now go to the courts, where lawyers for the NPP Ashanti Regional Chairman Bernard Ntwiboisiako, alias Chairman Wontumi, are disappointed the Attorney General dropped charges against the General Manager of Akonta Mining after he offered to testify against their client. Ekuokun, the former fourth accused person, and Chairman Wontumi were facing multiple illegal mining charges until the Attorney General withdrew the charges against him. A report by Lord Idwasari.
Lead counsel for Chairman Wontumi, Andy Apiakubi, speaking to journalists after court proceedings on Tuesday, indicated that the Attorney General ought to play his role as a Minister of Justice. He accused the Attorney General of attempts to undermine the course of justice.
If Attorney General, with all the materials available to him, all the resources available to him, including him being human personnel, if it is just for him to only rely on a former accused person to prosecute a matter against one of the accused persons or some of the accused persons, and he thinks that justice may not be undermined. That is his decision. The way that the Attorney General appears to be poaching his own accused persons suggests that there is intent to undermine the course of justice. We will resist your princess rule.
The NPP Ashanti Regional Chairman has pleaded not guilty to multiple charges of undertaking a mining operation without a license, felling and abetting the felling of trees in the forest reserve without written authorization, and has been granted bail. At the Criminal Court 4, presided over by Justice Audrey Kokuvite, the prosecution prayed for a short adjournment to serve the lawyers of Chairman Wontumi with disclosures. The case has since been adjourned to November 12 for continuation. At the Criminal Court 1, where Wontumi is facing multiple charges of mining without a license and felling of trees in the forest reserve, the case has been adjourned to December 4 because the presiding judge is on leave. Lodi Dwasari, TV3 News, Accra.
The Office of the Special Prosecutor has directed the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Anthony Sapong, and 2 other senior officials to appear before it for investigations. This follows a recent arrest of the acting head of legal at the Ghana Revenue Authority.
The officials summoned by the Office of the Special Prosecutor include the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Anthony Sapong, Assistant Commissioner in charge of Finance, Celestine Annan, and Technical Assistant to the Commissioner General, Kenneth Ejedia. The directive follows the recent arrest of the GRA's acting head of legal and is directly linked to alleged contradictory statement and a letter the 3 officials are suspected of instructing the legal head to issue to lawyers for SML Ghana. Sources at the OSP confirmed that this is the second time Anthony Sapong and Celestine Annan have been invited for questioning. Their earlier statement reportedly contradicts the content of the letter they are alleged to have authored or approved, which was said to have been issued at the request of SML's lawyers in mid-October. Both Anthony Sapong and Kenneth Ejedia previously worked with KPMG, the auditing firm that reviewed SML's operations under President Akufo-Addo's directive. Special Prosecutor Kisie Jabin at a press conference on October 30 indicated that the office is preparing to charge several individuals implicated in the scandal by the end of November 2025.
The OSP will charge the following persons with various corruption and corruption-related offenses before the end of November 2025. Kenneth Nanayao Oforiatta, former Minister of Finance. Ernest Akori, Chef de Cabinet to Kenneth Nanayao Oforiatta as Minister of Finance. Emmanuel Kofinti, former Commissioner General of Ghana Revenue Authority. Amishadai Owusu-Amwa, former Commissioner General of Ghana Revenue Authority. Isaac Krenzel, former Commissioner of the Customs Division of Ghana Revenue Authority and General Manager of Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited. Kwejo Damwa, former Commissioner of the Customs Division of Ghana Revenue Authority and Member of Parliament for German South constituency.
The OSP says its investigation into the contract revealed that some persons use public office for personal gain, which is a clear violation of the law resulting in financial loss to the state.
Let's now go to the Ashanti region, and as part of his 3-day visit to Ghana, Germany's President Frank-Walter Steinmeier has affirmed the country's commitment to strengthening partnership with Ghana in the areas of cultural heritage, education, and sustainable development.
President Frank-Walter, proud to his arrival at the ancestral seat of the Asante Kingdom to strengthen cultural ties, cut short for Center of Excellence for Green Technology at the Kumasi Technical Institute.
As part of President Mahama Reset Agenda, Excellency Samaya, we are focusing on developing a TVET policy and establishing a TVET fund to support the skills training of young people in order that they can make meaningful contribution to our national development effort. We take today in pride that shared opportunity, mutual cooperation between Ghana and Germany has already yielded some dividends of over 40,000 persons trained arising out of it. And I'm happy to be working with my colleague now on a new initiative of digitalizing our education system.
The German leader and his entourage were welcomed with a display of the traditional Ashanti ceremony at the Menchia Palace. In a closed-door meeting, the two leaders discussed matters of mutual interest with a focus on cultural heritage, education, and sustainable development. The conversation also touched on Germany's support for local governance and heritage preservation projects in Ghana. President Steinmeier indicated his visit is not just a diplomatic formality, but a bridge between Ghana and Germany. The Asantini Otumfuo II emphasized the strong bonds of friendship between Ghana and Germany. He was convinced the visit will open up new avenues for collaboration. The warmth displayed at Menchia Palace is expected to pave the way for increased German investment and cooperation in the country. The visit, a key highlight to President Frank-Walter Steinmeier's 3-day state visit to Ghana, was aimed at fostering stronger cultural understanding and reinforcing the bilateral partnership between the two nations. Ibrahim Abubakar, TV3 News, Kumasi.
And from Kumasi, let's come to the Greater Accra region because poor access to water across several communities in the region has become a huge source of worry in recent months. Residents in areas such as Teshinungwa, Spintex, Tema and Burma Camp say water flows only once a week, yet they continue to pay high bills as though it runs daily. Daryl Agbozo visited 3 areas and has come through with his report.
For weeks, taps have run dry in many homes, forcing residents to rely on water tankers and boreholes. In Teshinungwa, some households say uncertainty forces them to wake up at odd hours just to fill buckets and tanks with water.
We've been having a water problem. It comes once every week, probably Thursday. And once it comes Friday, it goes off. I don't know what the problem is, and they are not saying it. No information from Ghana Water Company.
In neighboring Spintex and parts of Tema, the story is no different. Frustrated residents question why they continue to receive high water bills despite the irregular supply.
I'm working at Mecom. This morning we buy 600 cedis water, but still there will be a bill that this is our bill for water, but we still buy water from different sources.
These residents are calling on authorities to communicate clearly and provide immediate relief measures, saying the silence from authorities only adds to their frustration.
Our days to get water is Thursday and Friday, but this is the case about 2 weeks, getting to a month now. The water doesn't come. We are begging government, Mahama should do something about it for us.
According to the Ghana Water Company Limited, recent challenges with shortfalls and assures residents efforts are in place to increase supply.
Now, unfortunately, we've had some challenges with the owners or operators of the desalination plant. And so now we have shut down the plant. And so both parties have agreed at a certain point that we shut down the plant and then resolve issues that we continue with operations. So now that the diesel is off, the people in Teshinungwa and then the enclave being served by the desalination plant are without water at the moment. We apologize seriously for the inconvenience that this is causing to the people. But under the circumstances, we need to distribute the little water in the system equitably so that all everybody living within that area can have some water.
Until then, the struggle continues. Residents will have to grapple with the uncertainty, waking up at dawn to store every drop possible and hope for swift government action whenever that is.
We have business news coming up shortly. Don't go away.
to pivot its focus, arguing the agricultural sector must become the backbone of long-term economic strategy. He specifically calls for market access and infrastructure instead of relying on tax breaks.
The plea comes from Professor Patrick Esumin of the University of Ghana Business School, who believes agriculture's budget allocation is critical for achieving a sustainable national growth.
Bringing down food inflation, the industrialization drive, all of that, agri-sector is key. I think where it's extremely important is the government to, first of all, providing markets, ensuring that, when the government is procuring, emphasis is placed on domestic production so that, you provide them ready markets.
Professor Esumin outlined two essential areas the finance minister must address in the upcoming presentation, providing vital inputs and upgrading infrastructure. He contends that while past budgets have offered waivers, a more impactful approach is required to transform the sector.
There are areas where some kind of additional interventions, like supporting in the creation of storage systems, and of course improving access to some of the key inputs that have become a problem in recent times. Perhaps it won't be as expensive as giving subsidies, where perhaps I probably wouldn't go into is necessarily giving incentives. The problem with giving the subsidy is that then you have to make sure that it's properly policed, that doesn't end up in the wrong hands. We've had too much history of that kind of intervention going back.
The advice provides a clear roadmap for policymakers as the nation looks to cement its economic recovery status. The 2025 budget allocated 2.90 billion cedis to the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, representing just 0.54% of the entire government expenditure. This was a reduction of 2% from the previous year.
Now, in a strategic push to meet Ghana's target of 10% renewable energy in its electricity generation mix by 2030, Switzerland is partnering with key stakeholders to implement a solar initiative expected to inject over 60 megawatts into the national grid. Officials say the project will enhance energy reliability and support Ghana's transition to a more sustainable power supply. Ghana's current renewable energy contribution stands at under 1% of installed capacity, with thermal and hydro dominating the mix. The Swiss-backed solar program is expected to shift that balance, offering cleaner alternatives and reducing pressure on conventional sources.
This will enhance grid stability, reduce blackouts, and provide system owners with energy credits as pay for feeding excess power into the grid. Our goal is to install 12,000 solar PV systems generating 62.5 megawatts green electricity.
The Association of Ghana Industries says solar energy for domestic use could free up the national grid for industrial production.
If we can move solar into residential and into places like hospitals and schools, then you get a generation mix where individuals take control of their own electricity production, and then the conventional power then goes into industry where we can now build big industry.
These discussions formed part of the Renewable Energy Forum Africa launch in Accra to spotlight Ghana's clean energy ambitions. Organizers say the forum underscores government's efforts to accelerate solar adoption and attract international collaboration.
The new administration has really been very active with local and international partners to create an environment which is really conducive and supportive for the uptake of more solar in the country.
We'll bring you updates now from the currency and the commodities markets. And here on News 360, I am Michael Obudu. Over to you, Portia.
Thank you so much, Michael. And good news coming in for Media General, because two of Media General's journalists, that's Sarah Apenkro and Godwin Asiedu-Dartey, have been named among the 38 nominees for the Ghana Journalists Association's Media Awards set to take place this weekend at the Minsha Palace in Kumasi on Saturday, November 8th. The GJA made this announcement during a press briefing at the Ghana International Press Center this evening.
The Media Awards GJA 2025 nominees. We have 38 nominees here, and as the President said, they are not award winners yet. Timothy Inyangwe, Daily Graphic. Sarah Apenkro, TV3. Rachel Kakraba, JBC. Solomon Guma, Ghana News Agency. Edmond Smith Asante, Daily Graphic. Samuel Dowona, Tech Focus. Masahudu Ankilu Kunate, African Eye Report. Gordon Asediba, Media General. Doreen Ampofo, GBC. Philip.
Congratulations to Sarah and Godwin. We have more news coming up shortly. Do stay with us.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on News 360 with me, Oriku Ampofo. The Ghana Football Association has announced plans to organize a testimonial match to celebrate the legendary career of former Black Stars captain Asamoah Gyan, whose impact on the Ghanaian and African football remains unmatched. The testimonial will serve as a fitting tribute to one of Ghana's greatest ever footballers, a player whose name is written deeply in the nation's sports history. There's more details in the following 3 Sports report.
On November 19th, 2003, a 19-year-old striker announced himself to the world when he scored on his debut for the Black Stars against Somalia. That goal marked the beginning of an extraordinary journey for Asamoah Gyan, a journey that will see him become Ghana's all-time leading scorer and one of Africa's most iconic footballers. Today, the Ghana Football Association has confirmed plans to organize a testimonial match in honor of the legendary former Black Stars captain, celebrating his outstanding contribution to Ghanaian football. Affectionately known as Baby Jet, Gyan remains Ghana's top scorer of all time, netting 51 goals in 109 appearances for the national team. He also holds the distinction of being Africa's highest scorer in FIFA World Cup history with 6 goals across 3 tournaments: Germany 2006, South Africa 2010, and Brazil 2014. Gyan's club career was equally remarkable. He started at Liberty Professionals in Ghana before moving to Udinese in Italy and later shone for Modena, Rennes, and Sunderland in the English Premier League. His exploits continued in the UAE with Al Ain and Al Ahly, where he became a household name before further stints with Shanghai SIPG in China and Kayserispor in Turkey. He rounded off his illustrious career with Legon City's FC back home in Ghana. 2 years ago, Gyan made a public announcement on retiring officially from the game.
And I think I'll use this platform officially to tell everybody it's time.
No.
Hold on.
What?
Hold on.
Wait.
Are you?
Wait. What I'm hearing.
You're saying that he's coming for the African Cup of Nations now because I've officially retired from football.
Oh!
And very, very emotional, as he said. It's official right now. All the journalists, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Beyond his incredible goal-scoring record, Asamoah Gyan is celebrated for his leadership, charisma, and influence which transcended football and inspired millions across Africa and beyond. The upcoming testimonial would serve as a fitting tribute to a man whose goals, passion, and dedication define an era of Ghanaian football, a celebration of Baby Jet, the legend whose legacy will endure for generations.
Well, let's do some more here to news that would please Ghanaian fans, as Ghanaian media powerhouse TV3 is set to bring fans live coverage of the 2025 Kirin Cup this November during the international break. The Black Stars will face Japan and South Korea in this year's edition of the prestigious Kirin Challenge Cup, a high-profile international friendly tournament that will form a crucial part of Ghana's preparations for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. There's more details in the following report.
TV3 Ghana is set to bring fans live coverage of the 2025 Kirin Cup this November during the international break. The Black Stars will face Japan and South Korea in this year's edition of the prestigious Kirin Challenge Cup, a high-profile international friendly tournament that will form a crucial part of Ghana's preparation for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Ghana secured qualification to the World Cup after finishing top of their group ahead of Comoros and Madagascar, booking their place among Africa's representatives for the 5th time in history, having missed only the 2018 edition in Russia. Under the guidance of Otto Addo, the team continues its build-up to the global showpiece. Ghana will first take on Japan on Friday, November 14th at the Toyota Stadium in Aichi, before traveling to Seoul to play South Korea on Tuesday, November 18th at the Seoul World Cup Stadium. Both matches will be broadcast live on TV3 Ghana, the country's leading sports network, known for its extensive coverage of the Ghana Premier League and a wide range of top-tier programs. Fans can look forward to two exciting encounters as Ghana tests its strength against Asia's finest in what promises to be an entertaining and strategic warm-up ahead of the 2026 FIFA World Cup.
Well, before we go, just updates from the UEFA Champions League match day 4, and it's Arsenal who continued their impressive start to the season, winning 3-0 against Slavia Prague to make it 4 wins out of 4 in the Champions League. However, the other matches are just about kicking off. Liverpool versus Real Madrid, Paris Saint-Germain, Bayern Munich, 2 games that a lot of people would have an eye on. Well, you can get updates of these games on our social media handles at 3sports. My name is Ore Kwampofo.
Good Good evening and welcome to the Entertainment News segment here on News 360. My name is Noella Donko. Now, musical president and high life legend Bessa Simons has expressed concern about the decline of high life music among Ghanaian youth. Now, he noted that many young artists are moving away from the authentic rhythms and storytelling that define the genre, favoring newer styles like Afrobeats and Amapiano. Now, Bessa believes the decline is partly due to older high life musicians stopping recording too early, leaving younger artists without proper guidance. He called for renewed efforts to promote high life through documentation, training, and the use of technology to preserve and modernize the genre for future generations. And that brings us to the end of the Entertainment News segment here on News 360. My name is Noella Donko.
Thank you so much, Noella. Coming up, international news.
Tanzanian police have lifted a 9-time curfew imposed since last Wednesday in the main city Dar es Salaam following deadly election protests as life slowly returns to normal across the country. Following the unrest, the internet was cut nationwide and most shops in Dar es Salaam closed amid acute shortages of basic essentials and soaring prices. Schools shut and public transport came to a halt. On Tuesday, some shops reopened and traffic resumed, but with queues persisting at some petrol stations in Dar es Salaam. Families continue to search for or bury relatives killed in the clashes between the security forces and opposition supporters who denounced the poll as a sham. Former U.S. President George Walker Bush has led tribute to Dick Cheney, saying his death is a loss to the nation and a sorrow to his friends. Cheney died from complications of pneumonia and cardiac and vascular disease on Monday night at the age of 84. His family said in a statement, he became one of the most powerful U.S. vice presidents in history under Bush and leaves behind a controversial legacy as a key architect of the war on terror and an early advocate of the 2003 invasion of Iraq.
It's always a pleasure that you'd spend your last hour with us. Thank you so much for watching. I am Martin Asiedu-Dartey.
And I am Portia Gabor. Do join Alfredo Kansa at 10 p.m. for Ghana tonight, as well as with Beatrice Edu at 9 p.m.